And the recording is in progress.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's yet another evening where we go to our second webinar. I am Princess Ntombizodwa Mahlangu, and I will still moderate the session of the webinar. I would like to thank everybody that's in the webinar. Please feel relaxed and be ready to receive a lot of information and the work that people are doing out there. I would like to start by introducing Her Royal Highness Princess Lerato Mabalane, who will be doing the opening remarks and introduction of the panel. Her Royal Highness Princess Lerato Mabalane of Baphiring, Mabalane, in the Northwest Province. She is the granddaughter of the former Bophuthatswana president, the late Dr. Kgosi L.M. Mangope. She is also the founder of the Royal Kizazi organization, which consists of young royals. It consists of kings, chiefs, princesses, and princes from different traditional authorities in the Northwest Province. And they get together to promote and work towards ensuring social, economic, rural community development and create a platform for the rich exchange of culture amongst other many missions. Princess Mabalane has studied a BA Psychology and Industrial Psychology from the University of Johannesburg, and she is currently enrolled for a BCom Economics and Business Management with UNISA. She is a community builder and passionate humanitarian. Thank you so much for attending this session. Let's get to it. Princess Mabalane, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Princess Zodwa. Thank you very much. My name is Princess Lerato Mabalane. Isitloholo sa Bahuru Tibo Ramangope and also Isitloholo sa Bangwato ko Motswana. I am the princess of the Baphiring tribe in the Northwest Province in a village called Mabalstad, not too far from Sun City. And I look forward to being here, engaging with everybody on this very crucial matter. And that means you can relax. We look forward to you engaging with us. We look forward to hearing your comments and your views, your opinions in the comment section. Thank you, Princess Ntombi. And let me also acknowledge all our honorable guests, your Royal Highnesses and Royal Majesties, our princesses, kings and queens, and everybody here. Let me also acknowledge different leaders from different organizations in South Africa and around the world as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me acknowledge all our South African Royal Princesses Network fellow members, especially those who have been working so tirelessly to ensure that tonight and today, earlier on today, is a success. Thank you to Princess Stella Sikau, Princess Gabuyilelwe Moroka, Princess Ntombizodwa Mahlangu, amongst many others who made today a success. Thank you, princesses. We acknowledge your efforts and we pray that the Lord will continue to bless you as you take up space, as you make a mark in this world and you contribute positively in your many, in your different communities. When we look at the stats, it's very sad to see that at the beginning of the lockdown period, the government Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Command Center alone recorded more than 120,000 victims in the first 3 weeks of the lockdown. By mid-April in Tshwane alone, the call center was receiving between 500 and 1,000 calls a day from victims of abuse. Now we have different contributing factors such as toxic masculinity, and studies show that amongst the youth in South Africa, there seems to be a need for young men to control women in intimate relationships because this is considered to be essential in affirming their masculinity. And in many studies as well, young men have identified violence as an important way, unfortunately, to display their power and to prove their masculinity within their different communities. So these are some of the factors that we need to look at in understanding why such crimes against humanity are committed. And in discussing ways to fight this, we can look at lack of education. We need to have more platforms such as this one to educate people with regards to gender-based violence. We need to encourage reporting of these crimes, as well as the conviction of these criminals who perpetrate these crimes. We need to also create environments which are not conducive and not tolerant of such crimes against humanity. Now, from personal experience, I know that when such abuse incidents happen closer to home, either to oneself or if the victim and the perpetrator are some people that are close to you, the automatic response becomes hiding such incidents out of fear that there will be shame attached to the family name. What will the community say? What will people say? But really, in hiding such incidents, we do not do any justice to anyone. So we are very grateful. I, for one, am very grateful for such platforms which remind us that keeping quiet is really, honestly, never a solution. We need to have platforms where we engage and we encourage one another to report these crimes. We need to encourage the supporting and not shaming of victims. And we need to ensure that these perpetrators always face the full might of the law. Now, let me not take too much of your time. Let me get straight to introducing today's speakers. And we have panelist number one. We have a gender-based violence survivor. We have Pastor Sinoyolo Nokutywa. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And Pastor Sinoyolo is the founder of Let It Rain Association. And panelist number two, we have gender-based violence from a youth perspective. We have His Royal Highness Prince William Mabhena. Now, Prince William is the manager of youth development in the Ndebele Kingdom. And then on number three, panelist number three, we will be talking about the role of traditional leadership on addressing gender-based violence. And leading these discussions, we will have His Royal Highness Prince Kennedy Mampuru, who is the senior member of the Mampuru royal family. Now, I think most of us will remember that the Mampuru royal family sadly made news earlier this year in January when they sadly buried Kgoshikgolo Billy Mampuru III, who passed away in January this year. And we truly do hope that the family is progressing well in overcoming the loss of Kgoshikgolo. And then on panelists number four, who will be leading the talks on culture stereotypes and gender-based violence, the importance of youth empowerment. And leading this conversation, we will have Her Royal Highness, Princess Yanga Tantsi. Now we have two Princess Yangas today, so it's a little confusing. But Princess Yanga Tantsi is from Ntabankulu. She is currently working in the Office of the Premier as Director of Youth Development. Her passion for youth development began in her early year of her career when she started working in Ntabankulu local municipality as an SPU officer. Her career has also exposed her in working with communities. And because of her dedication, passion, and understanding of the space, she was promoted to a SPU manager, still working with the youth and other designated groups. Ms. Tantsi was then again employed by Alfred Nzo District Municipality as an assistant manager, managing the youth development wing, still excelling in youth development work. She later moved to Pretoria as a director of administration services, in the office of the Premier, in the office of the Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. In 2020, she moved back to the Eastern Cape on being appointed as the Director of Youth Development in the office of the Premier. She's the founder of the One Child, One Shoe campaign she runs in her hometown in Tabankulu. Thank you, Princess, for joining us tonight. And thank you to everybody else. Princess Yanga, sorry, is also a member of the South African Royal Princesses Network. Panelist number 5, who will be leading the talks on gender-based violence and toxic masculinity from an African view. We have Dr. Ashantewa Ngidi, I hope I pronounced that right. And Dr. is the founder and director of the Institute of Africology. Panelist number 6 will be leading the talks on gender-based violence and human trafficking from a global perspective. And leading those talks will be Dr. Nelly. She taught us how to pronounce her surname. I hope I get it right. Dr. Nelly Giko. Did I have it right? Okay, Dr. Nelly Giko. She's a progressive leader and advocate for a common goodwill on human rights, social, economic empowerment, and sustainable development. She's currently based in New York, and she's the founder of the Connected Hearts Incorporation, Human Trafficking 2030 Agenda, mission on zero exploitation of women and children. With international recognitions, Dr. Nelly Giko's work and contributions go way beyond organization, boards, governments, academic, United Nations, and civil societies. She strongly believes in we can't help everyone, but we can help someone. And this is a quote she loves by Ronald Reagan. Thank you, Dr. Nelly. And last but not least, after the interactive session, which will be open to participants, we will then have closing remarks and way forward by Princess Yanga again, another Princess Yanga, but this time it's Princess Yanga Dumalisile. She is an entrepreneur, a qualified dispensing optician, and has worked in the United Kingdom. She's currently the founder and director of YD Optical Eye Care and Eyewear, Opticians Who Care, a practice which is based in Gauteng. She is an advocate for eye care and eye health and a representative within the South African Optometric Association and a professional association which represents optometrists and dispensing opticians across all forms of practice modalities in South Africa. Yami tiro ke weditse bagaetsho. Again, feel free to post your comments, your views, your opinions in the comment section. And I hope everybody has a lovely evening. Good night from me. Thank you.
Princess Mabalane, thank you so much. I think it's too early for you to say good night. There's so much in this house. You will not sleep. Thank you so much, Princess Mabalane. We will move on with the program. And I would like to say thank you to the people who are joining. And I will just move on with it because I know that time is, we cannot waste time. I learned that from the first session. So I will take it to our first panel. Our first panelist is Pastor Sinoyolo. I'll just want to say that, I want to say that Pastor Sinoyolo is wearing something from the Tanzanian culture. She is representing the Maasai people. So let's take it to him. There you go, Pastor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. Indeed, we're an amazing and a diverse country. We need to acknowledge one another because we are one. This issue of speaking different tribes, coming from different lineages and languages, mustn't be one of the things that must be dividing us, but it must be one of the things that unite us and giving us a way of promoting cohesion. I always say that unity in diversity is the best thing to do. Okay, as it said, let me say all protocol observed so that I don't miss anyone. But I would love to start my own talk by quoting the book of 2 Samuel, chapter number 13, verse number 12 and 13. So it reads as follows. No, my brother, she said to him, don't force me. Such a thing should not be done in Israel. Do not do this wicked thing. What about me? Where could I get rid of my disgrace? And what about you? You would look like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Please speak to the king. He will not keep me from being married to you. Okay, this is one of the stories that has captured my attention when we speak of GBV. And also because I've learned part of GBV. So I always like to reference from the scripture because we always feel like church used to be the safe place to be, but in our days, things have changed. The clergy is using its own power towards the people. So that is the first thing I want to say, that it's an old thing. I'm sure it's about 800 cubits, if not 300 cubits before Christ was born. Even the issue of gender-based violence, where men were using their own advantage, taking advantage of women. But one thing I want to say is that today I wouldn't like to pose the issue of GBV on one-sided issue, because I want to say that GBV is something that is across. When I was looking at statistics in South African statistics today, I've noticed that majority of a male to female, the adult GBV instances, it happens between a male and a female, and male being the perpetrators, 70% of them being the perpetrators, but as compared to women to male is 10%. Then when I went and checked when I went to check towards GBV towards children, I've noticed that women are the most perpetrators towards children. Okay, so the first thing that I've noticed is that GBV is happening in majority of time. Let me make an example about me as a survivor of it. It happened to me when I was in the age between 9 and 12 years, those 3 years, because I was staying with my uncles. My mother was at school at that particular moment. So it happened that I ended up being a victim. I'm not sure whether the perpetrator was aware of the time, because we are 8 years difference. Yeah, I think we are 8 or 7 years difference. But if it was in today's mentality, I was going to say he was aware. I am not sure about that particular time. But what I want to tell you is that majority of the people who are committing GBV are not strangers, are the people that are within us. Are the people that are family, people claim to love us, people supposed to be protecting us, and people whom the society always feels like they deserve a second chance in our lives before you take any other decision. Then I wanted to check if does it have any mental or psychological impact. Yes, it does. One, it does have a mental effect to the perpetrator and also the victim. And one thing that is painful about the issue of a victim is that if the victim has not dealt with it in its initial stages, the victim creates its own victims. That is the unfortunate part. If it happens at a younger age, it means you would always create it amongst other kids. Then as you grow, you will create amongst other peers. And when you are in a state or in a level of creating in a space of being in a relationship, it's either you would think being abused, it's normal, or being abusive, it's normal, one of the two. So it means it's like now moving from one generation to another, because if you can go and check majority of the perpetrators of GBV, you will find that they were victims one way or another, or they were affected by the impact of GBV. From the scripture that I've read, it's between a sister and a brother, who Amnon, not Tamara. But one thing is so amazing is that Amnon decided to sleep with his own sister. What happened is that Amnon was killed by his own brother, which is Absalom, after what he has done to her sister. That tells you that it doesn't only affect mentally the victim and the perpetrator. The entire family is affected by the situation. Then immediately Absalom killed his brother Amnon. It tells you that David chased away Absalom. That tells you that the family becomes dysfunctional. So what I want to say is that GBV has a major impact towards the psychological of the human being, starting from the perpetrator. And I've learned that when I was looking majority of the research is that majority of the people, we are always concerned about the victims. But now it gave and posed a challenge to me that says, we need to go and check the psychological or the mental health of the perpetrators. What comes to their mind? What triggers them? Do they see opportunity, or do they run away some of the things that they are afraid of the society to face from the society that leads them towards that? So there are so many things that I've realized. So I just made some of the few interviews amongst my students on campus after I was knowing that I'm going to speak to these people. I'm going to speak in this webinar. So when I was asking my students, more especially those, majority of them being in LGBTI community, always says to me that we once become victims of GBV while we were kids. And psychology tells you that between age 8 and age 12, it's when the mind of a child is going to crystallize, especially at age 12. Anything that has been happening at that particular era and has not been rectified or get a therapy to deal with it, it will always manifest in your teenhood, which people who were once victims of GBV while they were kids, but now they are busting out because they are not getting therapy, they are not looking for solutions, they are not accepting the reality that it has happened, because it starts with you as the victim, that it has happened, I need to heal. And also from healing from me, I should be able now to face the perpetrator if possible, so that there must be peace amongst you so that you can move forward. Then the other thing is that in the family, another way that GBV manifests in a family is that you would find that, you know, most as Africans, we grew up in an environment where we do take my brother or my sister's kid if she has passed away or whatsoever. Now I'm this married uncle, but my wife decides to treat my sister's kids in an unfairly manner because they are not given birth by both of us, or me as an uncle raping my wife's sister's child because he's staying without, as if like the child is paying for what I am doing to. So one other thing I always tell people is that the hub of GBV is families. As a result, I always have a concern whenever a parent gives to, no matter how good and related you are with your siblings. For me, taking your children to your siblings, I always get worried, more especially if you're not going to be there, because that's where it's happening. And the child is not going to be easy to come and tell you that, do you know that your sister or your brother has done to me? Blah, 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 blah. But for me, for example, I started to speak about it after 15 or 16 years, it has happened to me. I started to speak about it. And then from speaking to few individual friends, then I decided, let me just go and write it on social media. Then I started to have more confidence in me about talking about it. Then the healing process started there immediately. I speak about it to a point that it has made me to be one of the people that were so reluctant in terms of, can I date or not? Should I involve anyone? But I was just like so observant in so many things. Okay, then the other part I would love to check is an issue of, I am worried how we always view things, because majority of times when we define majority of things, we define them based on the Western perspective. And we always think that because we are learning from them what is written, because when they arrived, 90% of us, or all of us in the SADC at that particular time, were not able to write. So we always, when we write our things, we always look at their perspective instead of decolonizing and Africanizing what they are bringing us to us. Then we mix it so that it can fit in to our lives. I am worried when we define, for instance, the custom of ukungenwa, when we discuss the custom of ukutwala, when we discuss, because these customs has been there even before any other thing, but they were practiced in a fairly justice and a righteous way. So we cannot think, we cannot just respond to them on the basis of what we see today, but we need to be checking what the history was, how was it done? Even if we regulate and put a law, let's put a law on the basis of originality of the custom. Because if we are going to put laws on the basis of what we do today, we are going to miss it. I like what Umkai says in his book, in the preface of Ikelalama the twins lawsuit, because there it says, although I am not an expert of law, but I have discovered that these people, when they come to our land, they have taken a number of things from our law and they dramatized it and regulated and taught us as if it is their own law. Because why do I say this? It's because African customary law, it's written on the purposes of equality, justice, and righteousness. Because I think Unkosu Patekile, when he writes a double-edged sword, he says them, African customary if we do like that. I still remember, I think in page 14 of Ikelalama Wele, where Umkai continues to say, these kids belong to both of us. Let's not lose any of them. It means when we do these things, because in the morning I heard that these things we cannot traditionally resolve them as if our traditional or our customary law is not fit enough to resolve the matters of the Africans. Because GBV is not a new thing, but the way it's extremely done today, it's so amazing. But my question, I would love to those people that believe that the Roman Dutch law is better than customary law. I would ask a question that says, do you think our correctional services do justice in rehabilitating our people? You can imagine taking a robber to meet with a rapist, then you take a thief that you meet with a corrupt person. You put them in one place and think that there's a rehabilitation in that process, because one is transferring another skill to another. So that is my worry. So the last part was an issue of religion. My time is up. Okay, let me say, lastly is an issue of religion. Religion makes me so worried because men, mostly in this manner, they take advantage of the vulnerable and the poor because they came seeking spirituality, seeking guidance and everything. Then we use it for our own advantage and abuse them. Ndiyabulela, ngiyalebuha, bayadange.
Yes, thank you so much. Ngesikhethu bathi siyathokoza mfundisi. Ngiyabonakala ukuthi vele ungumfundisi. Thank you so much. You spoke so much, and I like that you put a point about LGBTI, which is something that we as Africans, or we run away from. And it's not a topic for today, but it is a very important topic to always talk to. I like that you as a pastor are talking to it. Thank you so much. I would just like to thank everybody that has come on that was not there at the beginning. This is the second session. We had a very, very informative first session. Let's continue with our second session. Our next panelist is speaking about GBV from the youth perspective. And he is Prince William Mabhena. And he was well introduced by Tsepi, by Princess Mabalane. And Ndebele, I'm giving it to you. Thank you so much. I'm back again. Ndebele, are you Prince William Mabhena? Are you part of us? Princess Tsepi, can you check and verify if he's part of us?
Right, I will do so. I will do so. Okay. Maybe we can go to the next speaker.
Yes,
Your Royal Highness. Thank you.
I'll do that. As we go to the next speaker, I think we have Prince William from LA amongst us. He spoke about a very important factor. He spoke to the Sustainable Development Goals, which were adapted from the Millennium Development Goals. And I'll just like to say that, Prince William, I heard you, and I just like to say that we as the South African Royal Princess Network are going to look at those goals one by one. But today I am happy that we have started to look at goal number 5, which looks at gender equality. And as per the World Health Organization, they say that this goal is a goal that aims to ending all discrimination against women and girls, and is not a base, and it's crucial to the future of sustainability. And I would like to say, as I heard from the pastor, we now have to look at everything as male as female. So we need to look at all angles. Thank you. I will go to our next speaker. Our next speaker is from the royal Mampuru royal family, which is in Limpopo. He is the senior prince, and his name is Kennedy Mampuru. Ndebele Mampuru, if you are inside our webinar, please take over. Thank you. It is the evening, and I just want to say to the people that have joined us, they might not have joined us because of load shedding. We know that in South Africa, we have a problem of load shedding, especially His Royal Highness Prince William Mabhena. He might be load shedded until it's already 7, because most of the time at home we load shed from 5 to 7. But it's okay. We will continue. This will give us enough time to interact as participants. Our next speaker is also not here, but we understand. All right. I will then go to our panelist, Dr. Nelly Kisho. As they said, please do give us everything that you have from New York. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a honor, and you know, to just get to join this powerful group. You're game changers. So I said, oh, thank God, I'm just part of this. It's really exciting. And you know, princesses and kings, my courtesy and respect as we share with the world what we always do, what we have been called to do. So today I'm going to talk about you know, human trafficking and a global perspective. So I will have some slides there because some of the details really, you know, it's just a way of expressing and just getting into the heart of the matter. And so you know, I am a founder of the Connected Hearts. That's mostly, it's been, I established this organization sometime 2013. And so I began a campaign on Human Trafficking 2030 Agenda. And this is a topic that is cutting across all sectors in our community. And it's all involving women, men, girls, and boys. And it's cutting across, it's globally. So we can't even, it's not right sometimes to just say women, because there's also a trend in human trafficking. This is a fast industry. It's a fast moving industry, a very lucrative industry. So that's why, you know, this is not a topic that has been spoken or discussed about widely, and that's why we are discussing about it today. So I'm really happy that I have, you know, the opportunity to share what I can. I know it's a wide topic, and so I will begin with my slides that I prepared to share with you, and I'll just go straight and share my screen. Well, it's, please let me know if you are able to see.
Not yet.
Is it there?
Not yet. William, Prince William, can you help?
You have the power to share. Ball's in your court.
All right, so there.
We can see the PowerPoint slides, Doc.
Yes, yes. So that's the first slide. I have 7 slides, so I will try to run through pretty fast. Let me just reduce the. There you go. Is that clear?
Remember, Dr. Nelly, you can take your time and make your presentation. We do have guests that have not been able to appear, so don't rush yourself. Please make a complete presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yes, that's the human trafficking global perspective. And the first slide is defining human trafficking as, you know, United Nations protocols define trafficking in persons as a set of acts and means carried out with the purpose of exploitation. And this part, I have to read it because it's well defined and it explains exactly what human trafficking is, according to United Nations. And that is, trafficking in person shall mean the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of the threat or use of force or other forms of coercion or abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, or of a position of vulnerability, or of the giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person for the purpose of exploitation. Then the second is the pattern in trafficking. Internationally, between 20 million and 40 million people they're in modern slavery right now. These are just, I'm going to run about the facts, which are very important. And also, human trafficking earns global profit of roughly 150 billion a year for traffickers, 99 billion of which comes from commercial sex exploitation. So you can see where sexual exploitation sets in, and we are talking about gender-based violence and women and girls. And we can also see advocates report a growing trend of traffickers using online social media to recruit. And now that everything is going online, so we will definitely see a high trend like a fast trend of traffickers targeting their victims. And also because of the pandemic, we know that the economy of, the global economy is affecting everybody. So I tend to think that trafficking those numbers will definitely rise. Also, the other fact is the average age a teen enters the sex trade in the US is 12 to 14 years old. That's young. Those are teenagers, and that is the time that they need nurturing. They are growing, and so they are in just that vulnerable age. So many victims are runaway girls who are sexually abused as children. Also, one part I didn't point out there, most of those kids also are coming from foster homes. And then the continuation also globally, women and girls account 75%, while men account 29%. So the vast majority of victims are recruited with promises of work through personal contacts, but also advertisements in newspapers, television, billboards, and the internet. Recruitment generally mimic legal migration. So you see that movement of people from country to country, and then there are issues of economic hardship. So everything is seen in, this trafficking is seen in just those daily life when people are looking to better their lives. Also, the transportation is mostly overland, either by train, by bus or car, and likely due to proximity, ease of land, travel to many destination countries, just to avoid border crossings. So you'll see that some of these victims really have to go through very difficult situation, and what they have no control at all. They're in the mercy of their traffickers. They have to go through borders, very harsh conditions, maybe walking long distances. And sometimes in those countries, they are not able to speak those languages once they land in those countries. So this is a big challenge for advocates and most countries that are trying to combat human trafficking. Then we come to the demand and supply. And I'm going to mention some of the supply countries, where victims are targeted, mostly in China, Belarus, Central African Republic, Venezuela, Eritrea, Iran, North Korea, Sudan, Russia, and Syria. And you can see some of these countries these are conflict zones countries. So there is increased activities of human trafficking because with the conditions, either some of them are refugees and they are promised, if we hire you in another country or you migrate to another country for a better life, that is, it's appealing to most of these young people. And destination countries are Southeastern Europe, the European Union, the United States, Turkey, Central Asia, North Asia, and Middle East. And then we have the global participation. Currently, we have 125 out of 154 states that have signed the protocol to combat human trafficking. So there is more effort that member states should pull in, and because if we have that difference, then there's a gap to not be able to fulfill the mission to combat human trafficking. So addressing the problem. I think the first I just went through, from my own research, I picked up on these points, and is to consider the gender dimension of trafficking. And that means that now that things, economy is changing, it's very important to have a wide research or intervention to really go deeper and look at the gender dimensions in trafficking. Is it going the age group, or is it more from high school dropouts or college students or people who are seeking jobs, or is it employment, or is it young men or women? So this is one of the issues, one way of addressing the problem. Then designing anti-trafficking intervention through a gender lens. We have women and we have men also, but most of the time, from the earlier slide, you saw that men just account 29%. So we have 79% which are women, who are women. And we know this has been a problem. That's why we are talking about gender-based violence, that women have less opportunities, or they have to push through to get opportunities in our society, or to raise their voice. So this kind of the intervention should expand to a gender lens and look through exactly what's happening, the needs, and all the programs that can cater for women and men as well. Also, conduct trends on victim-centered research and evaluation on the subject trafficking in women, girls, men, and boys. Yeah, this is almost relating to the second point that I was talking about, research-based programs. That way we can be able to know exact facts and how the trends are going on this human trafficking. Then the fourth point is funding needed for all profiles of victims, including the ones who have been trafficked. So needs are met, so that needs are met appropriately. We know that most victims have gone through trauma, and it takes a long time for them to recover, even to just integrate in the society. So such programs, an expanded program to make sure that these victims are integrated and they can continue, they can get in and contribute in the society in a proper manner. Their emotional, physical needs that all these victims require. That also the profiling, the funding, and just making sure that they are those proper categories and how to handle them, because once they have gone, they are victims, it takes a long, long time for them to recover. Also consider other aspects of identity which impact risk and intervention needs, especially age, education or class, and a diversity of experiences. And the last one is intervention should involve all industrial sectors to have an impact. We are talking about the hotel industry, for instance, air or aviation industry, airlines. We're talking also about agriculture farms, the agriculture industry. All sectors should get involved. That one is not really happening. I mean, even in United States, this is not a topic that is being addressed properly. So it's so important that all sectors setting, issues to do with child labor. Those are just, those are entry points that can lead teenagers to be abused or to be trafficked. And this is my last slide. And so if there's anything, and if there's anything that probably any input, I will be happy to receive questions from you or inputs.
Thank you, Dr. Kisho. Can we maybe leave the questions for later on?
Okay.
Can get the speakers, and then we will have an interactive session. And I wish to say to all the participants, you can and then ask the questions at that time. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I just would like to say to the participants, can we label ourselves properly, as Prince William has asked? You just right click on your cell phone name or your name that is not satisfactory, and then you just rename it, and you write the right name, because we are doing a recording. Would love people to see your right description. Princess Yanga Tantsi, I haven't forgotten you. Please just hold on. I wanted you to come just before the interactive session because you are talking to youth empowerment, and I think that's a very powerful topic. Princess Tsepi, who is also a co-host of this webinar, has told me that Prince William is in our midst. I would like to say, Prince William, can I give it to you? Thank you. Prince William, are you here? It does not see Prince William.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I'm here. What can I do to help you?
Not you, Prince William.
Oh, the other one.
About the other one.
Which one?
Just said that. The other one is Prince William Mabhena. So thank you so much. It doesn't look like he's in the webinar. I would just like to say that we thank you, participant, for being here with us, and we thank you for honoring us to give you all this information. Dr. Kisho, your information is well researched, and we thank you for that. I just want to, I have a question. It's not a question per se, but I want you, when we go to question times, I want you to talk to drug dealing. Is it human trafficking or not? Just think about it. I'll give an opportunity to talk about it when we interact. Thank you so much. Princess Yanga Tantsi, not the other Yanga. I think it is your time to present your information and give us everything that you know to the importance of youth empowerment. Thank you. It would seem that Princess Tsepi has hand up.
There is a hand, Your Royal Highness.
Yes, I've seen Princess Tsepi's hand. Princess Tsepi, you can come in and say something.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry to interrupt. It looks like, I don't know whether it's on my side. I was still in the sharing screen. Much better now, because I wasn't able to navigate. Thank you. Dr. Nelly, I think it was still your screen that was still showing. Thank you so much. And then on Prince William's, I was talking about the one of the US, not Mabhena. And I think also in our midst, I see Princess Yanga Dumalisile. I don't see Princess Tantsi. Hence, you were also requesting that perhaps if it is under another label, we can be helped. But thus far, we haven't located her. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Princess Mahlangu.
Thank you, Princess Tsepi. Maybe before we, maybe before we get to the interaction as participants in this webinar, I know we have Umama Queen, sorry, I just want to get the name right. Oh, the Queen Mother Umama Uma Dosini Damase. I would like to give her just a little time to maybe revise what she said in our afternoon session, if she allows me. Then we will go to the participation and interactive session. Ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. Due to I am already in the farm at the palace, so we've got issues of a network, so I can't even show my face. I tried earlier on, I got cut off. This is a surprise, I must say. Greetings to everyone. I wasn't ready for this. Greetings to everyone, greetings to all the panelists and all the guests at large. Wow, earlier on we had deliberated more. We just had a surprising scene where a 15-year-old girl who was abducted by a reverend who had a dream of getting married to her. Umfundisi is 50, he is 50, almost 50 years. It just happened here in Nyandeni. As we speak, the king is on the news with the SABC attending to that as well. It was shocking, and and I just anticipated more on Fala. You get all the basic rate. The facts that are left with, that come with Ukutwala. Tremendous in a young woman. She's stripped off of her rights to education, her dignity, help the stage of development. You have to go through all the stages in life. Imagine being deprived, a 15-year-old being deprived and pushed straight to become an adult, becoming a mother, to becoming.
Thank you, Queen Mother. I think I will relieve you from saying more, especially because of your network. I actually wanted you to speak to Ukutwala, but we have heard you. The people that were not hearing him, she was referring to a pastor that is almost 50 years, that at Otwale Umdwana, who is 15 years. So we won't hear the end of that, but I'm sure when we go to the news, we'll know exactly what she wanted to say to us. Thank you so much. We will move on with our webinar. I'll still say thank you to everybody for attending. Please make sure that your name is properly written so that we know who you are and where you come from. If you are at an organization, how we can get a hold of you, because we as the South African Princess Network would love to work with people who work on GBV. Thank you so much. We are now going to go to our interactive session. In this session, what we will do is we will take questions. All you need to do is raise up your hand, and how you do that, you will go to the option of more, and then in your screen, you will see that there are emojis, and one of the emoji is raise hand. So you will raise your hand, and Princess Tepi and Prince William will help us to have to identify the hands and let people speak. Thank you very much. Princess Tepi, you are my third eye. Thank you.
Yes, Yes, thank you so much. What a privilege to be the third eye. You know, it's the eye that can hover everywhere and anywhere. We already have the first hand up, which is Pastor Sinoyolo.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. I've got much interest on this issue of Ukuthwala, on how do we define Ukuthwala, to a point that I've decided to make. I'm in the process of writing an academic paper on Ukuthwala, because one thing I'm noticing is that all of us, we are writing about Ukuthwala, not from its own original point of view. We are writing about Ukuthwala in this moment where it's a mess up. But there is an originality of how Ukuthwala was done. One, Ukuthwala was not done by somebody. It was between families, first of all, the agreement between families. Secondly, there was no point where when one is taken to be athwalwe by an elderly person, the age of the newlyweds was also considered, because as the kids grew up, one Sinoyolo would be saying, I want my child, my son, to be married to a daughter of from the Mahlangu family. You see, it was done like that. It was not like Sinoyolo, who is in the marketplace already working, going to look for a 50-year-old. So my concern and my worry is that we are in a crisis in South Africa of losing everything that we have. And if we allow that those people who are destroying what we have, and we write at their own point of view, definitely we would lose our customs, we would lose our identity, we would lose a number of things. As I speak with you, we are using English as a communication language, as if as Africans, we cannot have our own language that can unite us as Africans. So I always get worried on how we define Ukuthwala and how the society has been given an understanding of Ukuthwala. We can go, for instance, Uti Soka has written about Ukuthwala. Let's go back to the old books where we are going to look in Xhosa, where they have written, and also the literature of that time, the early literature of the likes of Oslomo, the likes of Omkhai, the likes of Dr. Khubusana, have written those stories so that, because they were writing on the base of the originality of Intlalo-Kantu, which we need to learn and draw some strength from them, than writing on what we see today, because we are going to miss it. As a result, I've seen people trying to translate the word Ukuthwala to forced marriage. Ukuthwala, there is no equivalence word for it in English, is Ukuthwala. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. All I will say is that get the Queen to help you with your paper. She had a very, very good definition of Ukuthwala, and she explained it so well. So she can be your participant in your research. Thank you so much, Pastor. Princess Sebi, do we have another hand?
Thank you so much. Your eye is still hovering all over the land. I don't see another hand. Anybody who would like, it's an interactional session that the moderator has opened. So any other hand, and if you are on the computer, when you look on the down on the right side, you will see where it says reactions. That's where you find the hand to raise. Other than that, I think if your video is on and we just see your hand, we will be able to identify you. So you can be saying your comments, our moderator, while we are waiting for the hands to be up.
I wouldn't like to comment because I've just had so much today. I would like the participants. It doesn't have to be a question. It doesn't have to, it can be a comment. It can be something that you want to say to us today. Dr. Kijo, if there are no hands, can you answer my question that I asked?
Yes, I will definitely, Princess. Yes, that part I left, and yeah, it's good that you reminded me about drug trafficking and human trafficking. Those are two issues that are interrelated, because drugs are used to control victims, to keep them for a long time in control of the traffickers. So, and there's also about money, money, how do they say? Money exchanging hands, something like that. Yes, and drugs and human trafficking mostly is also related with organized crimes, which is a very complex subject to talk about. We know about organized crimes, and there are so much that is related to drug trafficking. Not even that, there is also organ trafficking. These people, the victims, are targeted for organ, just for organs, those organs that are, either the heart or kidneys. And that's when we hear about black market. So this is, yes, you asked about drug trafficking. Yes, it's related to human trafficking. It's a very complex subject, because we are talking about organized crimes, organizations. They are wide globally, and it's just hard to go through those organizations. And we know that they are very dangerous, and there's a lot of money that goes through these organizations. Yes, Princess.
Thank you so much, Doc. It is said that we speak about organizational crime, and most of the people that are part of organizational crime are people we know and are people that we are related to, but we do not have the choice to tell people about them, because we are afraid for our lives, of our children's lives, or for our family lives. So thank you. I think you answered it very well. Thank you. Princess Tsepi.
We have Ndutu from Kenya. The hand is up. Ndutu.
Thank you.
I don't know, Ndutu, are you there? Other than that, I see that Pastor's hand. I don't know whether it was from previously, or is it up again?
It's a new one, my dear.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear Ndutu. Are you there? Let's give Ndutu first, and then we come to you, Pastor.
Yes, I am here.
All right. It's your turn, my dear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Princess. I appreciate this chance to talk to the panelists and the guests who have attended the webinar. I am Kanywa Nduthu from Kenya, and I want to talk about a situation of gender-based violence in my country. I have heard a lot about South Africa and the challenges that the country is facing as far as gender-based violence is concerned. And I'm here to support and join hands to say that it is time the atrocities, the discrimination, the suffering, the torture that women and children and sometimes young boys are facing in the advent of technology in the 21st century, when the world should be celebrating milestones of technology and the achievement they have made for the better of the entire humanity. Unfortunately, in our communities, we have the challenge of various gender-based violence For example, in my country, I come from a community called Tharaka. Tharaka community, I was born there. I grew there. I went to school there. When I was going to school, girls were not allowed to go to school. I had to find a way to be able to go to school. I had to run away from home to join my auntie where she was working so that I was able to attend school. Because when I turned 14, I was supposed to get circumcised and get married. Fortunately, I was very ambitious. I was very determined. I ran away. I went and joined my aunt where she was working away from home. So I attended school there. I passed very well. And I was admitted to the university. The chance of the government being able to sponsor students, bursaries. We have an organization to needy students. I applied for it is called the Higher Education Loans Board. So my university employment. Now, what I want to say is that in that community, if I had not, if I was not so determined, I could not have been able to get where I am today or to achieve what I've achieved so far. Because girls get circumcised every other holiday. So that immediately they get circumcised and they are out of their seclusion. They are expected to get married, to start their families. Sometimes the men who marry them are not even their age mates. They are older men who sometimes have other wives. So the community is more so polygamous, and I can identify with the plight of South Africa. Never mind that the gender-based violence form is a little bit different from what my community is facing. Now, when you look at the situation on the ground, because of the culture, because of the practice, the community tends to give a blind eye to this situation because they think that is the way things should happen. Even the local authorities are not in a situation to help because when they want to take action and someone is supposed to become a witness, they decline. And so they say, if there is no witness, then you're not going to have any case. And so that case is dropped, and the girls, especially the girls, are left on their own to suffer, to experience a lot of pain, because after they get married as young girls, they also get raped by the adult men who marry them because the girls are not ready for sexual encounters. So at the end of the day, you find a girl who is 16, 17, is married, pregnant. She doesn't know what motherhood is. She has not been taught anything about it. So they drop out of school and they start families that young. Now, a young mother who has not gone to school, who has no employment, even when they have children, they may not be able to take very good care of that family. And therefore, the issue of the gender-based violence becomes cyclic. So that mother will also expose their children to the same challenge that they encountered, to the same gender-based violence of FGM, early marriage, and rape. So it becomes cyclic. Now I was feeling maybe just the way a majority of the panelists have said, then I think it is time we join hands as countries where these gender-based violence are mostly practiced. We educate people the way forward. We have community dialogues and tell people this thing has to stop because we don't have lesser children. Boys and girls have equal rights. It is the right of every girl. It is right of every girl not to be exposed to such kind of pain. The same way boys can experience ambition, vision, achievement. It is the same way girls can achieve such things. And I want to appreciate, as I conclude, the network of princesses, South Africa, who have managed to convene this webinar to highlight the plight of especially women and children. Even though I also understand that boys are getting involved in one way or another, maybe directly or indirectly, and especially where trafficking is concerned. Nowadays, we have this group that is called the LGTB, and they are also victims of the human trafficking, substance abuse, drug trafficking, and all of that. And therefore, I was feeling like countries really to come together because our children are at risk. And unless we say no together, then we are not going to have a generation in future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Princess. Thank you so much.
Thank you all the way from Kenya. We thank you so much. I thank you for the context that you are speaking to. What I heard most of all was that we need to do this together. As African countries, as the world, we need to take this together and we shall make it. Princess Tepi has alerted me that Kagiso's hand is up. I think I'm going to take Kagiso and then I'm going to take the pastor and then we'll continue with the webinar. Thank you so much.
Again,
thank you so much.
With all due respect, Your Highness, sorry, with all due respect, Your Highness, as we make our comments, let us remember just to be within 2 minutes or below so that at least we can be able to fit in all others. With all due respect, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tepi.
Also, as a note, if the speakers could put their contact information in the chat so that we'll know who you are, that would be very helpful. We do have a live audience, so it's important that you introduce yourself. If you have an organization, to introduce it as well. If you have a website or contact information, please do so at the beginning so that afterwards we'll be better able to organize this material. Thank you.
Kagiso, you can take over.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm Kagiso Letlape. I'm in the Northwest. I happen to be the provincial chairperson of the Council of Christian Ministers in the province. And I was not part from the beginning, so I didn't hear other presentations. But I've got a comment and a question in short. The first question is, in terms of research and scientific evidence, what is the prevalence of gender-based violence from the religious sector? And is there any, the second question will be, is there any evidence where maybe the religious sector or churches has gotten involved in human trafficking? Those are two questions. And the third one is a comment in response to what the pastor said previously concerning Ukutwala, that in its original form, kind of it was a good thing. But I want to say I 100% back to differ with what the pastor said, because Ukuthwala on its own has never been a democratic process, especially for the girl child, because there was no consent that was asked from the person that is taken, or the girl or the lady. Most of them, the process is with young girls, and there was no consent from them, even from its original, even in the olden days. It was maybe an agreement between the two families and the parents, but the child herself would be taken away or coerced to go into such a marriage or relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kagiso. I'm going to give it to the pastor, but Pastor, I wouldn't like you to debate the concepts of Ukuthwala. I would like us to say to Kagiso, Ukuthwala was explained by a lot of participants in our first session. And I'll also not want us to quarrel about it. And I just want us to share with you the video, and then you can then come back to the Princesses Network and we see how we can move forward in terms of the concept and how Ukuthwala has been done. Thank you. I hope that is fine with you, Kagiso. And I'll give it to the pastor. The pastor will, because I know that he is in the research field, he will then answer the two questions and maybe also just end it up with what he wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. Let me just make these two calls. The first one was going to call to all men to mentor the young men and boys as to build up good and protectors of our society, as we used to grow up knowing. Two, a call of Ubuntu, where we are always going to be, there must be justice and righteousness in everything that we do. Lastly, I was going to call to the survivors to speak out about their experiences so that other victims can gain strength and power to speak about how do they feel, so that they can coming to the issue of statistics. When I was looking, there is nothing where I was checking, there is nothing specifically where it has been written, like where the statistics has been written that this is based on faith-based or Christianity or whatsoever a religion it is, that this is specifically for religious purposes. But when I was looking in terms of the report and articles that are written by the journalists, there is a trace that religious leaders are involved, and also they are also involved in human trafficking in a manner where they would take majority of students in terms of missionary work, where they would say that they are taking them to go and minister into another country. So we do have cases in our instance. For instance, I have one person that I know that we had happened to go and fetch in one of the African countries. So what I would say, that would be the information that I have at the moment time. But what I would do, Kagiso can also leave details as to assist with some of the information that I have in terms of how the church is involved in terms of GBV. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Kagiso, I hope you are satisfied. I think you can also be involved in helping the pastor in his research. I would like to thank everyone for being here and for being patiently with us as we talk up to these topics. I would like to go to our next panelist speaker. This is our last panelist speaker before we conclude as South African Royal Princess Network. I am going to give it to Prince William. He will tell us all he wants to tell us. Prince William, you have the floor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen.
Recording.
There was a little feedback, but I'm glad we worked ourselves through that. This is Andrew Williams Jr., and I'm first of all, royal greetings to everyone here, and let all royal protocols be observed for your highnesses here and for our special guests. I'm pleased to be here representing not just my own organization, the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, California, but also to be here representing royalty in Ghana of the Igbo people in Ghana, as well as the Akans. So I'm here to uplift all of what you're doing. My presentation is a bit more comprehensive, and I would like for it to be very empowering. I need you to understand that the conversations that we're having here have global impact. So I need you to understand that all of us on the earth are faced with the same challenges as human beings. Now, I'm in the United States, and while I do not support, condone, or even agree with many, most, or all of the decisions made by the United Nations, which many look to be a foreign institution, it does in fact represent the majority of the countries on the world. And in 1948, the most important document ever created, in my personal opinion, was the Declaration of Human Rights, because the issues that we've been addressing here today can, I think, be resolved with a better understanding by everyone that all women and girls not just have the same equal rights as men and boys, but we all have rights. But of the 30 human rights, number 29 is responsibility. So I'm asking each of us to take the responsibility to first educate yourselves about what rights you have as a human being, and then be very diligent about making sure your children in your household know, and your community. The greater information is that what you're doing is not being done in a vacuum. Previously, it was mentioned about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, number 5, to empower women and girls. However, that's only one of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Princess Seppi was one of the first people that I was able to connect with in South Africa last year, who was in a position to understand and deal with the rural condition as well as the urban conditions. However, it was only when she began to explore the power of the words of the Sustainable Development Goals was she able to open doors that otherwise would have been closed. So I'm asking each of you to take the responsibility to educate yourselves about how important you actually can be on a global scale. Secondarily, you're in South Africa. It was there, of course, that apartheid had its reign for many years and has adverse impacts on the community as we speak. I'm here in the United States, where just 2 years ago, we commemorated the 400 years that we have been separated. But as you all know, we are all connected together as one family. So my presentation today, I've actually begun to share it in the chat and references, but I'll walk through it. And afterwards, if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. But I do also want you to reach out to me. As I said, I'm here in Los Angeles, California. I work with many organizations around the world. Both Prince Seppi and myself were involved here with an organization called the Sola Collective, SOULA collective.com. So I'm asking you to go there and register there to get updates about this current webinar that we're on now, and about events that are coming up for the rest of the year and for the rest of the decade. Challenges, as a matter of fact, let me briefly share my screen and I'll walk through this, or you can walk through this with me if you so choose, but I'll be happy to provide you a link to this document. It deals with human rights and racial justice here in the United States. It was just 2 weeks ago, I was on a panel, a leader summit, called by the United Nations Global Compact, and they just released a report done by Howard University here, one of the historically Black colleges and universities that has had the distinction of providing a lot of alumni on the African continent. And it is in fact our educational system, the HBCUs, that now represent over 10 of the 50 countries in Africa. Your leaders come from here, from us. So they were able to address the Sustainable Development Goals and found out that the US is failing to deliver on its promise of racial equality. While the founding fathers assert that all men are created equal, the value is not demonstrated in outcomes across areas as diverse as education, justice, health, gender, and pollution. Evidence shows that unequal treatment impacts each of these communities. However, it is most often Black and Indigenous communities that are left the furthest behind. Now, you there in South Africa are, in fact, the indigenous people of the world. Gauteng is recognized as a cradle of humankind. So it's urgent that you be the ones that have a global impact that has credibility around the world. I'm sharing my screen now with the presentation for today. It deals with strategies, tools, and resources to reduce and prevent gender-based violence in the next 2 years, between now and 2023. Now, of course, you've heard the African Union Agenda 2063 is a 50-year plan, but they broke it down into 10-year increments. So while you're dealing this year with the launch of the African Continental Free Trade Area, it's also part of the first 10-year implementation plan of the African Union. But challenges that are facing the 1,000-year Millennium Development Goals now during its Sustainable Development Goal phase, the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, looming hunger pandemic, and climate chaos can only be overcome with the support of royal, indigenous, tribal, traditional, faith-based, and community leaders, along with the business community, aid organizations, philanthropists, financial institutions, governmental agencies, you and me, to bring peace on earth during our lifetimes. It was on July the 26th of 2000 when Ghana's traditional chief, Kofi Annan, excuse me, officially launched the United Nations Global Compact. It is a principle-based framework for businesses which aims to catalyze actions in support of broader UN goals, such as the Millennium Development Goals that are now called the Sustainable Development Goals. I advise you to go there, unglobalcompact.org. And you can also go to find out what these Sustainable Development Goals are by going to globalgoals.org. Now, I officially joined as president of 5 Points Youth Foundation on December 31st of 2014 and committed myself to develop a campaign to register new members of the United Nations Global Compact local networks. I'm imploring each of you that have the leadership of an organization, NGO in South Africa, to also do so. One of my goodwill ambassadors is, in fact, Princess Seppi. She's also founder of Future Lift Foundation, a sponsor of today's webinar, along with 5 Points and the Ed Food Foundation.org. We're based here in the United States, but we're willing to connect with you and to bridge the gap between our continents and our people to work together to accomplish these objectives that address gender-based violence. I'm also humbled and honored to uplift the monarchy of Yaya Ola Ezi Ghana, Her Royal Majesty Uba Awunwa. She's a goodwill ambassador, sovereign queen, and diplomat who orchestrated my induction by His Royal Majesty, Dr. Ambassador Chugudi Ahinatu, the King of the Igbos living in Ghana, as Prince Andrew Williams last year. I've secured these royal endorsements for my missions to uplift the legacy of the traditional chief, Kofi Annan, in his role as General Secretary of the United Nations during the 2000 launch of the Millennium Development Goals. As a background, excuse me, as a background discussion, this brief talk today will discuss strategies, tools, and resources to reduce and prevent gender-based violence. During this decade of action to deliver the SDGs from 2000 to 2030 in alignment with the United Nations Global Compact Local Network Strategy. That's being headed up now by a Kenyan, Ms. Sanda Ojiambo. She also has lived experiences for what we need to get done to move our relationships forward. Those of you who have internet access can simply Google the UN Global Compact 2021 through 2023 Local Network Strategy. Violence against women is endemic in every country and culture, causing harms to millions of women and their families. It has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General. But unlike COVID-19, violence against women cannot be stopped with a vaccine. We can only fight it with deep-rooted and sustained efforts by governments, communities, and individuals to change harmful attitudes, improve access to opportunities and services for women and girls, and foster healthy and mutually respectful relationships. Inequities are a leading risk factor for violence against women. Violence disproportionately affects women living in low and middle income countries and communities. Younger women are at highest risk for recent violence. Among those who have been in a relationship, the highest rates of intimate partner violence in the past 12 months occurred among young women between 15 and 24. According to the recent WHO report, reducing and preventing violence requires addressing systemic economic and social inequalities, ensuring access to education and safe work, and changing discriminatory gender norms and institutions. So as I wind up, let me get back to the United Nations Global Compact. Their local network strategy includes 5 key shifts to accelerate the actions of business and expand the impact of their actions in five shifts. Shift number 3 is measuring their impact in priority areas. Co-created with the local networks that deliver programs on the ground, the UN Global Compact will focus on 10 principles to lead action on these 5 priority goals: gender equality, decent work and economic growth, climate action, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships. All of these are areas that you on this call right now are addressing. So it's so important that you understand this is not a one-off effort on your part, but this is, I believe, a launching pad for what you can do for next year's event and also going forward for the future for the rest of the decade. So my rallying call to all of you is to join the 5 Points Youth Foundation campaign to register, manage, and empower women-headed businesses, excuse me, women-headed businesses and non-governmental organizations in order for you to leverage your impact locally and globally. For example, in South Africa right now, there are only 73 companies that are registered with the United Nations Global Compact. On this network of the South African Royal Princess Network, I'm sure that we have at least 100 organizations, non-governmental organizations that impact women. I'm encouraging you through Princess Seppi to work with us to not just join that organization, but to empower ourselves by using the tools and resources that are already there to help move this forward. Thank you very much. This is Andrew Williams Jr. I'm at 5pointsyouthfoundation.org, and you can reach me through Princess Seppi. I certainly appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prince Williams. William, we thank you for that information, and we will definitely be registering companies so that we can make the change. Thank you so much. I would like to come to the end of our webinar. I'd first like to say thank you very much. And I personally want to thank my sister, Nkosazana Usake Mahlangu, for introducing me to this network. And I'll also like to thank the Ndzundza royal family for always supporting me. And I'll also like to just say that there are people that are on the webinar that are looking to see how the Ndzundza people work with stuff like this. We have Chief Makodongo in the webinar. Chief Makodongo has listened, and I am sure that together we can bring change to the Ndzundza nation. So I will hand over to Princess Yanga Dumalisile. Princess Yanga, can you wrap up the webinar for us? I am not going to come back. And to all of you, thank you so much. And if I did something wrong, forgive me. And if it was that bad, you can then talk to me on Facebook or on WhatsApp, or you can get me from Princess Stella. Princess Stella, thank you for the hard work. Now, wonka makhosazana, bantwana begazi. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, Princess. Thank you, Kizo.
Good evening, everyone. My task for this evening is quite small. It's just to close off and to thank, in essence, each and everyone who has attended our webinar as the South African Royal Princess Network. We are an organization which is against gender-based violence. We are fighting, more especially the gender-based violence against youth this month, because the month of June is the youth month in South Africa. As a South African Royal Princess Network, we are working hand in hand with many international non-government organizations to create awareness and to bring forth ways that we can help the youth and the children without voices. We want to be the voices for the voiceless. As the South African Royal Princess Network, we are saying no to ukutwala, which is youth and child marriages. We have spoken in great detail about it first in the first webinar this afternoon, and we touched a bit on it this evening with our other esteemed panelists. We've spoken in great detail, and we thank you, Dr. Nelly Giko, for your great educational piece on child trafficking. We do not we don't talk about it as much as we need to, especially in South Africa, because we're a society that doesn't talk a lot about gender-based violence as a whole, because we come from small villages and communities where we are not encouraged to speak out. As a South African Royal Princess Network, we want to encourage the youth, the panelists, everyone who's been with us through this journey to say, let's encourage people as a whole to speak out. We want to say no to child pornography, no to child prostitution, and child abuse and rape as a whole. I'm only here to reiterate everything that we have covered. We as the South African Royal Princess Network have got a Facebook page which we encourage each and everyone to kindly go on board and reach out and follow us on it, because we are here to share information. We are here to encourage that we will bring on board many other organizations which we are not yet in collaboration with, which can work hand in hand with us in reaching out and in educating our societies, our communities. There's a lot that happens that is not addressed. We only speak about gender-based violence, but we're not really finding ways to eradicate it. This evening, we touched a bit on many international platforms, from many international platforms that have given us information on how to, to spear forth and to find ways to teach our own people on how to address gender-based violence. I'm going to read an extract that I've taken off from the World Health Organization that they have put up. And one of the ways forward that they have actually recommended, it talks about strengthening responses of victims of violence. It reads as follows: the health, social, and legal services provided to victims of violence should be strengthened in all countries. This requires a review of services currently provided, better training of staff, and improved integration of health, social, and legal support. The health system as a whole should have as a national goal to strengthen the capacity and funding to provide high quality care to victims of all types of violence, in this space in particular, gender-based violence, as well as the rehabilitation and support of services needed to prevent further complications. In the initial webinar, we spoke about how our communities, when individuals go to report rape, any forms of gender-based violence that happens within their households or their communities, a lot of our legal services are still not properly equipped and educated in order to handle such cases. Because we're a community that, we're a society that does not believe in speaking out, a lot of cases are swept under the carpet. A lot of children are hurt beyond belief. One of our speakers this evening spoke about his own personal ordeal, which goes to show that gender-based violence is not only a girl child, a woman pandemic or a problem. It also happens to the young boys, to men outside. We have not covered in great detail this evening on how do we bring on board the men in our society, which are mainly seen as a perpetrator. How do we educate the boy child to grow up to be a responsible man, to not want to perpetrate, to not want to cause violence against another individual, whether it be man, woman, or child. We as the South African Royal Princess Network want to work with many who would love to come on and sponsor this initiative that we've taken on, where we say no to gender-based violence, no to use gender-based violence. We're looking forward to working in great detail with the international individuals who have come on this platform to say there are many ways that we can contribute, where we can get the corporate society, we can get many funding schemes, so to speak, because it does not just take voices. We need to apply ourselves. We need to physically go out and find ways to create hopefully centers or rehabilitation centers where these victims can have a place to go and cry to and get help and get therapy. We had a psychologist in our first webinar who spoke to us about what are the causes, what leads to gender-based violence. But now we also need to look at the victims. How do we reach out to the victims? How do we strengthen them? How do we empower them? How to empower them to learn to speak out and not to feel ashamed, because they are not the problem, they are the victims. How do we raise our children to be confident in saying that when someone touches me in an improper way, I can go speak to my mother, I can speak to my aunt, I can speak to my aunt, to my uncle, and they will then do what? They will come out and protect me. We still have a long way to go, but as the SARPN, the South African Royal Princess Network, we are working towards greater platforms, because we're taking this role on to be advocates against gender-based violence. So in all this, I'm very, very thankful to all the speakers that have educated us in great detail this afternoon and this evening. Ninga Dinwa, work with us, and we look forward to greater webinars and also platforms where we can educate South Africa as a whole, and then we can also enter into the international platform and bring forth our views and ways where even our traditional leaders can come on board and say and have a voice in helping us eradicate, because the most vulnerable most of the time come from the villages, because we do not have access to communicate, do not have access to get help. But as the South African Royal Princess Network, we say we are here. We are working together with the South African public, and we encourage and ask for your assistance and for you to walk the journey with us. Let us not just be individuals working without a purpose. We want to help those without the voices. Let us be the voices for the voiceless. I thank you very much. I thank you all the princesses from the SARPN who have worked tirelessly in putting together this awesome initiative. Ndim ndinguyanga Dumalisile, intombi kwagcaleka, umtshawe, ndiyabulela kakhulu. Our esteemed princess who has been kind enough to wrap this up has said that she will not be coming back. Can I ask Princess Tepi to kindly to close off for us? I think she didn't get a proper chance in the first webinar because we're cut a bit short because we ran out of time. Princess Tepi, would you please do us the honor of closing properly for us this evening?
Well, thank you so much to yourself. You spoke so well. You spoke really like royalty. It has been such a fantastic day, such a fantastic day. We are live on Facebook, and thank you very much to all our live audience as well. We have been moving with them. We're moving with you. And thank you very much, Princess Yanga. Thank you to the visionaries. Thank you to this network that is so courageous, that is so bold. I don't know how are you going to face back our fathers at home, Princess Yanga and everyone else, but you know what? I trust that this has been thought through. This has been long coming, and this is a conversation we need to continue doing. And as we have alluded even earlier on to say, this is not a once-off. We are still very grateful to have everybody on board as we move forward. You will be seeing on our social medias of the next activities of the next meetings. And thank you for the virtual meetings that we are now able to even go global right at the first instant, or even just in this sitting. So you have already wrapped up. All what I need to add perhaps is just to thank all the sponsors. We thank Future Lift. We thank EdFu Foundation. We thank all our partners in this from across the Atlantic, through Ambassador Prince Andrew, who wears many hats. He probably has more than 15 titles to himself, and they are all global. And we thank him for opening up the arms and saying, I will work with you. I would like to join, because this is the cause that is so very close to my heart, and that's his words. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the professors that have been with us. And most importantly, our captain. Can we all clap hands? Please just open your mic.
Siyathokoza Nkosazana Captain.
Yes, siyathokoza. Yes, ngalebuwa kakhulu. You navigated us, you know, with such natural move, so easy, and we were all just so relaxed. And you know what? We know that you are going to do it again next time. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody. I don't want to spoil what Princess Yanga has already said. It was just to thank our sponsors, to thank all the organizing team and everyone who has brought us here and who's going to continue. We know that you are going to be hearing, as he has already, as she has alluded, hearing from us. All these contributions are going now to be taken, consolidated, and come up with a concrete plan of how we are going to be moving forward with the objectives of this network. And all the stakeholders are going to be invited on board. And you know what, to all the Nkosazanas that have been moving with us, let's just clap hands. Let us just salute them. We can make noise to every princess from them who is a member of the Finally, the traditional community making a stand and correcting narrative. Finally, Africa. And thank you very much. What I'm going to request Yes, and to all our princes that have been here, to all our excellencies, our men that have been here, our fathers, we know you are supportive of us, and it is actually God's plan that we are to move together. He created both male and female. So it can never be right that it is only one at the table. That is why we are together. Our pastor, let's just click for our pastor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So perhaps to request Prince Andrew, while we are still, and not to take it off immediately, I'm still just consolidating from the notes and taking and copying. You know, the last request that I'm going to ask, let us all open our videos. We are going to have a photo. We are going to have a photo. Please open your videos and make sure that you smile. Oh, no. The best smile ever. Facebook is watching you. Let's all open our videos, our cameras. Everybody, you can all take the snaps if you know how to take a print screen. Yay! Look at the smiles. Yeah! Look at the smiles. If you can take a print screen, please do that. Yes, yes, yes. Just make sure my nose is all nice. Oh, okay. Good. A print screen. Let's all say shine. Shine. Great. And then you can take a print screen if you can. Anybody. So let me see. I'll take another snapshot even with my phone. Yes. Let everyone shine. Shine. Great, great, great. You will see it on our socials. You'll see these photos on the socials. Already on our network group, it's been flowing, it has been hot, it's been sizzling. It has been all things royal. Clap hands to yourself. All things royal. Yes, all things traditional, all things princess, you know. Hey, hold your crown. Hold your crown, hold your crown. Let's see, let's see. Hold your tiara, hold your crown. That's it. That's how we roll. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Prince Andrew, you can now just, and everybody, you can leave as you wish. I think we have a song. Princess Mahlangu has a song for us. You can leave as you wish, as we are just, we are, you know, we are cooking the tables and the chairs, us as the family. Thank you very much to everyone. A song. We celebrate. As in Africa, we celebrate.
Yes.
Where's the song? At least I'm smiling. I didn't open my mouth.
We can mute.
That was the song. It keeps on stopping, but this is the song. Thank you to all men that are away. I hope that you know the song and you'll play it just to congratulate yourself for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night, South Africa.
All right, we're out.
I know it's still very early there. We are going to bed.
Ubuntu.
Bye.
Ubuntu, everyone.